Here's something nobody tells you about investing in your child's dream. The moment you sign that check, you stop being their parent and become their banker, and bankers apparently don't get invited to grand openings. My name is Theodore Brennan, but everyone calls me Ted. I'm 58 years old, retired from 28 years in the insurance business, and I spent 12 years in the Navy Reserve. I thought after all that time investigating claims and dealing with people trying to pull fast ones, I'd seen every kind of deception this world had to offer. I was wrong. The person who proved me wrong was a 5'4" woman in designer jeans who called me Dad at Christmas dinner and asked me to pass the salt like she was already planning what to do with my money. It started like most disasters do, with a dream that sounded completely reasonable. My son Ben came to me on a Sunday afternoon in March, sat across from me at the kitchen table where my wife Kate was grading papers, and laid out this business plan like he was presenting to a board of directors. Craft brewery, local ingredients, tap room, small batch production. He had folders, projections, even a logo that said Brennan Brothers Brewing. I looked at that logo and felt something move in my chest. My name, my son's ambition, 28 years of work potentially building into something that would outlast me. I picked up one of the folders and flipped through it. "Where did you get these numbers, son?" "Amanda helped me put them together," Ben said. "She's got that finance background from the bank, you know." Kate made a sound. Not quite a word, just a sound. The kind a woman makes when she's being polite, but her whole soul is screaming. I'd been married to her for 32 years. I spoke that language fluently. "How much?" I asked. $250,000. I closed the folder. "I'll think about it." What I didn't tell Ben that afternoon was that I'd already started thinking about it 3 weeks earlier. Because 3 weeks earlier, Kate had said something to me that I couldn't unhear. We'd been at Ben and Amanda's house for dinner. Amanda had made this elaborate prime rib dinner, candles on the table, the whole show. When Ben excused himself to take a work call, Amanda smiled at me across the table and said, "Ted, Ben talks about you constantly. He really wants to make you proud." She tilted her head. "This brewery is going to change everything for us, for the whole family." I nodded. "It's a big investment." She held my gaze just a half second too long. "You won't regret it." On the drive home, Kate was quiet for about 10 minutes. Then she said, "She already knows the number." "What number?" "The investment number. Ben hasn't asked you yet, but she already knows what she's asking for. I could see it in the way she was watching you." I didn't respond immediately, but I filed it away. Right next to the prime rib dinner and the candles and the smile that lasted a half second too long. 2 days later, I called my old Navy buddy, Rick Morgan. Rick's a forensic accountant now, and he's the only man I know who finds financial fraud genuinely entertaining. "Rick, I need a favor." "The last time you said that, I spent 3 days auditing a marina in Jacksonville, so forgive me if I sigh before I say go ahead." He sighed. Then he said, "Go ahead." I told him about the brewery, about Ben, about Amanda, about Kate's instinct and that half-second smile. Rick listened without interrupting, which is unusual for him. When I finished, he said, "You want me to look at the business plan? I want you to look at everything." "Everything's a big word, Ted. I know what I'm paying you for," he laughed. "Give me 2 weeks. Meanwhile, I played my role perfectly. I called Ben and told him I was in. I watched him go quiet on the phone. That particular silence of a man who can't believe something he wanted is actually happening. "Dad? Really? It's a good plan, son. I believe in you." What I didn't say was, "I believe in you completely. It's someone else I'm not sure about." Kate was standing in the doorway when I hung up. "You're not transferring the money yet, are you?" "Of course not." "Good." She went back to her papers. 32 years, and she still trusted my instincts even when I hadn't fully explained them. Rick called me on a Thursday evening 2 weeks later. I knew from his tone in the first 5 seconds that he'd found something. "Ted, you're going to want to sit down. I'm already sitting. Sit better." I pulled my chair closer to the desk. "Talk to me. That business plan your daughter-in-law put together, beautiful document, professional, clean projections, solid market research, completely disconnected from the actual financial structure she filed with the county." The room got very still. "Say that again." "The business plan she gave your son is a showpiece. What she actually registered, the LLC structure, the operational accounts, the vendor contracts, tells a completely different story. There's a second account, Ted. Operational expenses are being routed through a holding company that has nothing to do with the brewery." "Whose holding company?" Rick went quiet for exactly 3 seconds. "Fellow by the name of Maxwell Turner." I sat back in my chair. How long have they been setting this up? From what I can tell, before Ben ever walked into your kitchen with those folders. I called my attorney, Tim Foster, the next morning. Tim's been handling my legal work for 15 years, and he talks slow but thinks fast. Tim, I need to set up an escrow account, and I need it done quietly. A pause. I'll have the paperwork ready by Monday. 3 months passed. I went through the motions of a supportive father, Sunday dinners at Ben and Amanda's house. Small talk about equipment purchases and permit applications. Amanda would update me on the brewery progress with enthusiasm that felt increasingly rehearsed. Every smile, every excited gesture, I started seeing the performance underneath. Ben was different during this time, stressed, working long hours, but genuinely excited about his business. He'd show me photos of the brewing tanks being installed, talk about hop varieties and fermentation schedules. The difference between his authentic passion and Amanda's calculated charm became more obvious every week. Kate noticed too. One evening after dinner at their house, she waited until we were in the car before speaking. "She's getting nervous. How can you tell?" She asked 3 times tonight if you'd started the transfer paperwork. 3 different ways, but the same question. I thought about that. Amanda had indeed found various excuses to bring up the investment timeline. Casual mentions of vendor payments coming due, equipment financing schedules, lease obligations, each time watching my face for reactions I wasn't giving her. She's fishing for information she should already have. Exactly. Kate buckled her seatbelt. If she was legitimate, she'd know the payment schedule because you would have discussed it during the business planning. But since this is a scam, she doesn't know what timeline you're working with. Sometimes I forgot how sharp my wife was. Elementary school principal for 23 years, she'd seen every kind of manipulation kids could dream up. Adult versions weren't that much different. The brewery opened on a Thursday in June. I found out the following Tuesday. Kate came to find me in my study that afternoon. I was reading, or pretending to. Mostly I was thinking about Rick's findings and wondering when Amanda would make her move. Amanda called. I looked up from my book and she said the brewery opened. I put the book down slowly. When? 10 days ago. 10 days, not a phone call during the actual event, not a text message, not even a photograph sent afterward. Nothing. What exactly did she say? Kate sat down across from me, she said, and I'm quoting here. It was 10 days ago. We only invited close family and friends. It was very intimate, very low-key. I looked at my wife. Close family and friends. That's what she said. We are his parents. I'm aware of that, Ted. I leaned back in my chair. I thought about the phrase very intimate. Very interesting words to use when describing an event funded almost entirely by someone you chose not to invite. Then I smiled, not because anything was funny, but because she'd just made her first major mistake. 3 days later, my phone rang. Amanda. I let it ring twice, not because I wasn't ready, but because I believe in making people wait just long enough to feel it. Then I answered, Amanda, what a nice surprise. Her voice came through warm and slightly breathless. Ted, hi, I'm so glad you picked up. How are you? How's Kate? We're wonderful. Just enjoying the week. Quiet around here. She laughed, that practiced laugh. That sounds so nice. Listen, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but we've been getting the brewery fully operational, and you know how it is with new businesses. The first few weeks, there's so much coming at you at once. Vendors, staffing, permits. Sounds exciting. It really is. Ben's in his element. It's wonderful to watch. A small pause. So the thing is, Ted, some of the initial bills are coming due. Operational setup costs, equipment balances, just the natural cash flow of a new launch. We were expecting the investment transfer to have cleared by now, and I wanted to touch base and make sure everything was still on track on your end. Silence. I let it stretch. 1 second, 2, 3. Ted? Did you get a chance to transfer the money? And I smiled. The real one, of course. It was handled weeks ago. Now, you need to understand what happened in the silence that followed that sentence. That silence told me everything I needed to know and confirmed everything Rick had already found. If Amanda was who she presented herself to be, a devoted wife helping her husband launch a legitimate business, that silence would have lasted half a second. She would have exhaled and said something like, "Oh, wonderful. It must just be a processing delay. I'll check with our bank." Instead, the silence lasted 4 full seconds. 4 seconds is a long time on a phone call, I counted. Then she said very carefully, handled how? Transferred as agreed. Every dollar. To the account? To the account that was set up for this purpose? Yes. Another pause, shorter this time, but tighter. I could almost hear her recalculating behind it. Which account, specifically? I want to make sure our bookkeeper is looking in the right place. Tim Foster has all the details. He handled the transfer on my behalf. You remember Tim? I mentioned him when we discussed the legal structure. Give him a call. He's been expecting to hear from someone. The temperature of the conversation changed. I can't explain it more precisely than that. Something shifted the way air shifts before a storm, and for just a moment, just one unguarded moment, Amanda stopped performing. Who is Tim Foster? There it was. Because if you're a legitimate daughter-in-law managing a legitimate business funded by your father-in-law's investment, and your father-in-law tells you his lawyer handled the transfer, you say, great, what's his number? You don't say, who is Tim Foster, in a voice that's gone 2 degrees colder than it was 60 seconds ago. He's my attorney, has been for 15 years. Wonderful man. Slow talker, but thorough. You'll like him. She recovered quickly. I'll give her that. Of course, yes, I'll reach out to him. Do you have his number? Tell him Ted sent you. He'll take good care of you. We said our goodbyes with all the warmth of a business transaction disguised as a family conversation. When I hung up, I sat quietly for a moment. Then I walked to the kitchen where Kate was making coffee. She called, I know. I could tell by your walk. She's going to call Tim within the hour. Kate poured 2 cups and handed me one. And what's Tim going to tell her? Exactly what I told him to. My phone buzzed an hour and 12 minutes later. Tim, that was fast, she called, asked about the account. I told her the funds had been secured in escrow pending verification of the operational structure. How did she take that? Tim paused in that deliberate way of his, like he's choosing each word from a very specific shelf. She asked what verification meant. I told her it meant we needed to confirm that the registered business accounts matched the investment agreement. She asked how long that would take. I told her it depended entirely on how cooperative the documentation process was, and she hung up before I finished the sentence. I set my coffee down on the counter. Tim, it's time to make the call to Rick, already ahead of you. He sent the filing documents an hour ago. A long pause. Ted, there's something else. Maxwell Turner, he's not just Amanda's cousin. Rick found paperwork in 2 other counties, 2 other businesses, 2 other investors. The kitchen was very quiet. This isn't the first time. No, Ted, it is not. I stood at the kitchen window for a long time after that call, watching the oak tree we'd planted the year Ben was born. Thick and solid now, roots deep, branches wide. I'd watched that tree for 32 years. The next few days felt like waiting for weather. You know the storm's coming. You've seen the signs, but you're not sure exactly when it'll hit or how hard the wind will blow. Amanda called twice more that week. Short conversations, increasingly tense. She wanted to know specifics about the verification process, timeline details, documentation requirements. Each call confirmed what I already knew. She was scrambling. On Friday morning, I decided it was time to have a different conversation. I called Ben at 9 a.m. He answered on the first ring, busy and distracted. Dad, hey, good timing actually. We just got the new tap system working perfectly. You should come see it sometime. Ben, I need you to come over. Something in my voice stopped him. The background noise of the brewery, clinking, movement, the low hum of machinery, all went quiet like he'd stepped into a separate room. Is everything okay? Is Mom all right? Mom's fine? Everyone's fine? But I need you to come over, and I need you to come alone. A pause, then carefully. How alone? Don't tell Amanda you're coming. The silence that followed was the longest we'd shared since the day I told him his grandfather had died. I could feel him on the other end of the line, turning that sentence over, looking at it from different angles, not wanting to understand what it might mean. Dad, what's going on? Come over, son. I'll explain everything. He arrived 45 minutes later. Came through the front door looking exactly like what he was, a 32-year-old man who'd driven across town with a knot in his stomach that he didn't have a name for yet. Kate hugged him first, held on a beat longer than usual. Ben let her, which told me the knot had already started to tighten. He sat down at the kitchen table, the same table where he'd laid out his folders and projections 5 months ago. I sat across from him. Kate stayed nearby but gave us space. I didn't ease into it. In my experience, easing into devastating news only prolongs the part where the person is confused and shortens the part where they can actually think clearly. I laid Rick's folder on the table. Clean, organized, numbered. Before I transferred a single dollar of that investment, I had someone look at everything. Ben looked at the folder. He didn't touch it. What kind of someone? Rick Morgan. You met him at the reunion. Forensic accountant. Ben's jaw moved slightly. You had the business plan audited. I had everything audited. He looked up at me, and I watched something move across his face. Not anger, not yet. Something more complicated. The particular expression of a person who's starting to understand that two conversations have been happening simultaneously, and they were only present for one of them. What did he find? I opened the folder and walked him through it. Every page. The shell company structure, the routing of operational funds through Maxwell Turner's holding company, the discrepancy between the business plan Amanda had presented to Ben and the actual legal and financial structure she'd filed independently with the county, the two other counties, the two other investors, the pattern that was older than their marriage and more deliberate than anything Ben had been willing to consider. I spoke slowly. I didn't editorialize. I let the documents do what documents do, tell the truth without emotion, which is sometimes the only way truth can be heard. When I finished, Ben sat very still. He didn't cry. He didn't shout. He stared at the folder for a long moment. How long have you known? Long enough to protect the money? Not long enough to protect you from this conversation. I'm sorry about that. The investment, the $250,000 in escrow. Tim Foster's office. Every dollar. Amanda never could have reached it. Something crossed his face then. Relief and grief arriving at the same moment, which is one of the cruelest combinations a person can experience. He put both hands flat on the table and stared at them. She told me you'd transferred it weeks ago. She showed me a bank confirmation. I know. She fabricated a transfer confirmation. Rick believes so. Tim's working with that assumption. Ben pushed back from the table slowly, stood up, walked to the kitchen window. He stood there with his back to me, looking at the yard, the oak tree. I let him have that moment. Some silences aren't meant to be filled. After a while, he said without turning around, Maxwell Turner. Her cousin. I've met him. 4 times he came to the brewery last month to look at the equipment. I thought he was just interested. He stopped. I introduced myself, showed him around. He shook my hand and asked questions about the financing. The room was very quiet. Then Ben said, still at the window, was any of it real, Dad? Did she ever care about me? Or was the brewery just the mechanism? That was the question I'd been dreading, because the answer was complicated in the way that only true things can be complicated. The brewery is real. The building is leased. The equipment exists. The permits are valid. What wasn't real was where the money was going after it arrived. Rick's investigation revealed the plan was to run the brewery long enough to justify the investment, extract as much as possible through the operational accounts, then manufacture a financial collapse. Clean bankruptcy, clean exit. Ben turned around. His eyes were red now, but his voice was steadier than I expected. And then what? They just disappear? Tim found a property. Coastal house listed under a holding company that connects back to Maxwell Turner. Ben stared at me. She was going to take my father's money and buy a beach house. That appears to be the intention. Ben sat back down like a man whose legs had decided they'd had enough. He put his elbows on the table and his face in his hands. Kate appeared in the doorway, looked at me, and I gave her the smallest nod. She came to the table, sat beside Ben, and put her hand on his back. She didn't say anything, just that, her hand on his back. After a while, Ben lifted his head. What happens next? What happened next took 11 days. Tim filed the documentation with the county. Rick's report went to 2 investigators who had been building a separate case on Maxwell Turner for 18 months and were very interested in what we had. Amanda received a formal notice from Tim's office on a Tuesday morning. I was told she called Tim 4 times that day. Tim, being Tim, returned none of those calls until he was ready. When he was ready, he spoke slowly and thoroughly and left no room for misunderstanding. Maxwell Turner was arrested on a Thursday. Amanda retained a lawyer by Friday afternoon. On Saturday morning, my phone rang. Amanda? I looked at the screen for a moment, then answered. Ted. Her voice was different. The warmth was gone. The performance was gone. What remained was something rarer and more honest than anything she'd offered me in 2 years of Sunday dinners and carefully angled smiles. You knew from the beginning. Not from the beginning, but early enough. A long pause. The escrow account, you were never going to just wire the money. No. Why didn't you just say something, confront us directly? I thought about that. I thought about Ben at the kitchen window, about Kate's hand on his back, about 2 other investors in 2 other counties who presumably hadn't had a Rick Morgan or a Tim Foster, because saying something would have protected my money. What I did protects the people who come after you. Silence, long and complete. Then she said very quietly, he didn't know, Ted. Ben didn't know any of it. I know that. He's my son. I know exactly what he is. She had nothing after that. We said nothing more. The call ended. Ben filed for divorce 8 weeks later. It wasn't easy. None of it was easy. He came to dinner Thursday nights, and sometimes he talked and sometimes he just sat with us and ate. Let the house be what it had always been, a place where nothing was required of him except to show up. The brewery, as it turned out, was viable. Genuinely viable. Stripped of Amanda's financial architecture and restructured with Tim's guidance and Rick's oversight. It had good bones, good location, good product. Ben worked 16-hour days for 3 months, learning every aspect of the operation she'd hidden from him. The real vendors, the actual contracts, the legitimate operational costs. He discovered he was better at the business side than he'd given himself credit for. On a Tuesday in October, on a morning when the sky was doing that particular autumn thing where everything looks cleaner than it has any right to, Ben called me. "Dad, I want to show you something." I drove across town and parked in front of a building with a sign above the door, Brennan Brothers Brewing. Ben was standing outside waiting for me. He looked like himself again, not the version from the kitchen table, but the earlier version, the one with the folders and projections and genuine hope. "I know it's not how we planned it," he said, looking up at the sign. "I know a lot happened, but it's still real. It was always going to be real." I stood beside my son on the sidewalk and looked at our name above the door. "Show me the tap system." He laughed. First real laugh I'd heard from him in months. "It's incredible, Dad. You're going to love it." I followed him inside. The brewery smelled like grain and wood, and something new. The kind of new that's been earned. That survived something. I sat down at the bar. Ben poured 2 glasses and set one in front of me. He raised his glass. "To the brewery." I picked up mine, looked at my son, looked at the room, thought about everything it had taken to get here. To paying attention. We drank, and outside, through the windows, the October light made everything look like it had already survived something difficult and come out stronger. Because it had. The brewery's been open 8 months now. Ben's got 3 employees, a waiting list for his seasonal ales, and a reputation for quality that's spreading beyond our county. More importantly, he's got something that can't be stolen or manipulated, the knowledge that he built something real with his own hands and his own vision. Amanda moved to Florida. Maxwell Turner got 3 years federal prison for wire fraud. The 2 other investors in the other counties got their money back through the criminal restitution process. Here's what I want you to understand, Manist, and this goes especially for those of you who've worked hard your whole life to build something worth protecting. There are people out there who see your success, your generational wealth, your family's good fortune as their opportunity. They're counting on your love for your children, your desire to help them succeed, your willingness to trust family. But here's the thing about family: real family doesn't exclude you from the celebration of something you funded. Real family doesn't get nervous when you ask reasonable questions about your own investment. Real family doesn't fabricate documents or route money through shell companies. Trust your instincts, verify everything. Protect what you've built, not just for yourself, but for the people who come after the predators. Because they're always looking for the next mark. And the next mark might be someone who doesn't have a Rick Morgan or a Tim Foster in their corner. Your experience, your professional skills, your hard-earned wisdom, these aren't just memories, they're tools. Use them.